Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We have here some Legacy from Scholars Games in Brockton, Massachusetts, and I am on Cephalid Breakfast. This is quite a list. Cephalid Breakfast, not exactly what you would call Tier 1, but it is capable of winning games and maybe even tournaments of the Legacy format. Basically, the issues that it tends to face is it's assembling a combo that is primarily living on the board instead of the stack, which kind of doubles the amount of ways your opponent can interact, whereas a storm deck has to be interacted with counter magic. On the level of Cephalid Breakfast, they can interact on the stack or once the creatures are on board. We're going to try and mitigate that with cards like Mother of Runes and Grand Abolisher, try and keep the board a little bit safer, but we'll see how it works out here up against what looks to be Sneak Attack from Chris here. We'll see if it's actually Sneak or not. Lotus Petal, and there we go, Show and Tell. I'm going to throw a Force at the Show and Tell. So turn 1, Nomad and Core. And there's the Cephalid. And we're off to the races here. This is an excellent start to this first game. For those unfamiliar with the combo here, we've got Cephalid Illusionist with a way to target it repeatedly. In this instance, it's Nomad and Core. The other way that the deck can do that is with Shuko. And in terms of smaller incremental advantage, which is really not where the deck wants to be, you could use Mother of Runes or equip onto the Cephalid Illusionist as well. But for the most part, this is exactly what it's supposed to do here. And, oh, brutal. Lord of Illusion is in hand. And we did not Cabal Therapy first, so this is an unforced error. And that is actually throwing away game 1. So a devastating error there. I believe the thought process was Chris wanted to scoop in response to the combo, and I wanted to play it out for the camera. Didn't want to Cabal Therapy him and angle shoot, getting more information that I should have, but then didn't therapy myself. So a complete disaster there, throwing away game number 1, going from certain victory to a game loss. And this deck cannot afford to be giving away those type of game losses. That was a perfect draw, Force of Will with the combo. So no fault of the deck at all there. Just a brutal misstep. We'll see if we can force a game 3 here and get some undeserved redemption. It looks like a few cards coming out. Daze, some of the Stoneforge package. Batterskull, not a likely path to victory in this matchup, giving Sneak and Show upwards of 4 or 5 turns of attacking. Really not ideal. There's not enough to hold down the fort here. We've got just some Force of Wills, some kind of tertiary Cabal Therapies. Those are mostly for the combo, not really a great control element. The deck doesn't have Gataxian Probe either, so you are naming blind very often. So going to game 2 here. Going to be on the play. Would have rather been on the draw. It would have been much better to get that first game. Sneak and Show, probably a reasonable matchup for Cephalid Breakfast. Now the deck can't win at instant speed. Can't easily win at instant speed, I suppose. There are some ways that it could possibly use that Show and Tell to the benefit. Potentially using a comboing out in response, getting your extra combo piece in. Really depends on how the build was created. And here we have Leyline of Sanctity. That is going to protect all of Chris's counter magic. So Grand Abolisher now going to be more relevant in terms of ensuring that the spells resolve. The deck has a lot of ways of protecting the combo pieces. So we've got Aether Vial and the Cavern of Souls, both of which can make sure that your combo pieces resolve in terms of milling your whole deck. Of course, once you do that, it doesn't necessarily matter that much if you can't win after. So if your opponent is sitting on a fistful of counter magic and you do mill until you get Dread Return into the graveyard, getting that Dread Return to resolve is crucial. And it may not actually be possible. So Grafdigger's Cage, another potential problem card here. Now this build is running the Mimeoplasm along with Lord of Extinction and Murderous Redcap. So that is one possible creature configuration. Next week's videos will have a different kill featured. One that would actually potentially completely sidestep both of these pieces of graveyard hate. So that other configuration is actually the Labman kill. And what that can let you do is actually get Laboratory Maniac into play and then mill your entire library and then use a cantrip like Ponder or Brainstorm to win on the spot. Here we have a Cavern of Souls, and that's going to push out a Stoneforge Mystic. And now, with all of the graveyard hate that Chris has gotten, it actually would feel pretty reasonable to try and hide behind a Batterskull. He is essentially down 2 cards in the Grafdigger's Cage and Leyline. Neither of them have to matter if I don't play directly into that line. Sitting on a Force of Will. Narcomoeba in hand, able to be pitched or cast to start a little bit of a clock. No black mana, though. That Cabal Therapy, a brick right now. It would be nice to be able to therapy, but that Leyline and the lack of black mana really mean there's just no way. And then there's Sneak Attack from Chris here. So Force of Will, pitching Narcomoeba, definitely a major threat there. And he's going to force back, so this is likely going to be game over very shortly. Getting a Narcomoeba down, pushing through just a little bit more damage. And we'll see if it's going to be Gristlebrand or Emrakul. And it's Emrakul. 6 permanents about to get out of there, leaving just a Tundra. Now, could possibly rebuild from here. That's one of the only issues that Sneak Attack has, is occasionally it does assemble the combo Sneak Attack plus a monster and actually not finish, but that is not the case here. Another Emrakul gets rid of that pesky remaining permanent and all of the remaining life. So Chris actually taking down this match. And we're going to go ahead and play a game 3 just for what ifs. So having thrown away game number 1, Chris being a good sport and taking a look to see what would have happened in a theoretical game 3. Batterskull going back in, perhaps unwisely. It does seem unlikely that Batterskull would allow you to possibly pull out of any of these games. You'd have to get above 30 life in order to survive 2 Emrakul attacks. And that is within the realm of possibilities, but it'd be basically 3 unanswered attacks. The deck does have a lot of permanents that I can put into play. There are a lot of small creatures. So perhaps it's not the most impossible line, but it does seem like Christmas Land. And starting out here with Cavern of Souls into Nomads and Core. Of course, you can name Nomad, Core, or Soldiers with that. Core is actually going to overlap with Stoneforge Mystic, though, so that's actually what you're going to name with the Cavern. Enabling the 3 Nomad and Core plus the 4 Stoneforge Mystic. Another name for Cavern of Souls would often be Wizard, especially in the build running Labman. Oh, and there's both Caverns. So this stuff is resolving, and it's off to the races here. There's a Cabal Therapy. So 3 at a time going into the graveyard here at a fast clip. Gonna find some Narcomoebas Got the Dread Return. And gonna be able to throw a Cabal Therapy at Chris here. And seeing no Force of Will. He does have Grafdigger's Cage, however. Oh, but the Mimeoplasm is in hand. So this is an awkward situation. Passing the turn would be a disaster. And I don't think there's any Cabal Therapies left. So very dicey here. Gonna go ahead and just jam a Dread Return for Lord of Extinction. And he is a sufficient one-turn clock. Can he possibly answer this from here? Maybe Brainstorm into the Pure Nuts, something along the lines of multiple Lotus Petals. And a City of Traders. He's really going to need to sculpt this hand to look completely different if he's going to have a chance to win here. Because this is a one-hit KO coming in. Grafdigger's Cage, not an answer to Lord of Extinction once he's on the battlefield. And that second land, not being a soul land, spells pretty much the end. And there we go. So Lord of Extinction finding a way there. The other Cabal Therapy stranded in hand. So no fault at all of the deck. It was, in fact, capable of taking down 2 out of 3 from one of the best in the format. If it were not for some pilot error there. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.